Welcome everyone to Best Podcast Actual Play Video for the New Zealand Web Fest. I am joined by an incredible crew of very, very talented storytellers. Their audio is incredible. Their games are phenomenal, and what they do looks like so much fun. We're going to get a bit of an insight on how it all began and why. But first, we're going to run through a little bit of an introduction on who they are, what they play, and we will probably start with Tina.
All right. Wasn't expecting to go first.
I'm so sorry.
I was
like,
so
everybody's going, don't pick me. Don't pick me.
That's all right. I'll manage through. My name is Tina Such, or Valentina. I'm the Dungeon Master and editor and co-creator for Reroll serie, or Reroll, with Oki, Joaquin, right next to me. And both of us created and directed and wrote all of the content for Reroll. We are based in Argentina. We are Argentinian. And we are filmmakers who decided that they could pull off an actual play series because we are also loving members of the TTRPG community, as well as putting a LGBTQIA plus and neurodivergent lens on it. So I'd say that's about that.
For someone who didn't want to do it, you've done an awesome job. Connie.
Thank you.
Connie, would you like to give us a little bit about yourself and the Chaos Protocol?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, folks, my name is Connie Chong, pronouns they, he, and she. I am the game master and creative director for Transplanar RPG, which is an all-transgender, people of color-led, dark fantasy, actual play TTRPG channel telling stories in an original, non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse. We are currently up for the Chaos Protocol, which is our current flagship campaign. It follows 3 doomed agents of a secret interplanar agency as they travel from plane to plane in the multiverse, answering fate's will. It is a multi-system series, so every arc, as we hop from plane to plane, we play a different game system. We like to call this our AU show, where basically the players and the characters stay the same, but they basically get to put on different hats and wear different costumes and try different genres and tones from system to system. But there is a through line of that dark science fantasy, and stories about trans rage, queer grief, and the incredible revelations of choice, divinity, and mortality are some of the big picture themes we like to tangle with. I'm particularly excited to be here. This is our first year on the WebFest circuit, and my favorite part of this is getting to meet creators from all over the globe. I myself am based out of the US. Right here, I basically work from home my home studio in Boston, but I have cast members all over the US and all over the world as well. So it's a big passion of mine to get to connect with other creators on a global scale, which is why I'm so excited to be here.
It's fantastic. Clara.
I am Clara. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm a producer with Queen's Court Games, an actual play production company. We specialize in audio drama as well as streamed actual play. And my project for this that we submitted for this is Mekong. It is an all Southeast Asian voices actual play made for Beam Saber. It is a sweeping space opera with an original world that draws from our shared heritage. And the goal was honestly we honestly thought, like, so much of our culture is beautiful and fascinating and interesting, and no one ever, like, it's slept on. So we're trying really hard to make it cool. It's robots fighting ghosts, and honestly, that's all anyone needs.
Yeah.
And you did say that you were coming to us from the floor of your room.
Yes, I'm on the floor right now in the room of a set that I'm sleeping in the cabin that we're filming in for a horror movie. So this could be a very interesting stream, or you might hear people yelling at each other in the back. So I apologize.
Okay, did you want to tell us a little bit about Reroll? And I tried to roll my R's, Tina. I didn't do a good job.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, we chose a difficult name. to say in
I
English.
didn't know how to roll my R's, so don't feel bad about it. Imagine living in a country where everyone can and you can't.
My name is Joaquin, but people call me Oki as well. Pronouns he, him. I'm also the co-creator, along with Tina, of Rarol El Brote de Fuego, or the Rarol The Sprout of Fire, which is our first season. And I don't think I can talk about the show in any way that was better than what Tina said, so let's leave it at that.
Fantastic. Well, would like to start with, because I mean, I feel as though I know you because I've watched the productions, but how did you all get started? Clara, did you want to take that one first? Like, how did you were you playing role plays? Were like in high school, or how did you come into this?
I am a fake gamer girl. Super, super fake. I played a little bit when I was very little, but then in high school, there was a boy I was super interested in. So I picked up 4th edition and learned to GM it so that I could run it for him. And it didn't work. So, lessons learned.
So relatable.
Yeah, I got into it because I was trying to impress boys. That's it. Yeah. But with the actual play part of it, I had a bunch of friends who I was working with on a performance project, and they had a show, an actual play show that they had been doing since like 2007 or something, Happy
Yeah.
Jack's RPG podcast, and I was like, oh, I like these games and things. Can I play with you? And they're like, yeah, sure. And it's just been sort of going ever since.
Mhm. What about you, Connie?
Well, first of all, I hear you on the hashtag like fake gamer girl thing. But honestly, maybe you started for him, but you kept doing it for yourself. And I think there's something beautiful about that devotion right there. Seems like the ghosts in the cabin might have gotten Clara. But oh, no, wait, we can hear and see you now. But yeah, on my end, I started with TTRPG specifically, like just out of high school as kind of a way to stay connected with my high school friends. We're all a bunch of nerds. I've, been doing improv my whole life basically. And I went to school for screenwriting. I've always loved being a storyteller, being an actor, a performer. It was just something that came naturally to me. Honestly, in the very beginning, I thought that the only TTRPG that existed was D&D 5th edition. Like, I didn't know that there was anything else, right? So, like, my first exposure to it was D&D. And before I even started running and playing D&D, I thought it was like a board game. I thought it was like a nerdy board game for like nerdy white dudes to play in their basement. I didn't realize there was such a rich community and kind of legacy, and these social circles and hobby around this particular game. So I started learning more about it, branching out to different systems, and making APs just came as kind of like a natural evolution of my own journey with GMing, running and playing, and eventually designing TTRPGs as well. After I graduated college, I decided to kind of pivot to doing APs full time as the pandemic hit, right? Like, so I was kind of like furloughed from my day job, and that was, I think, kind of like an inflection point for a lot of us to like get into remote streaming. But I kind of stuck with it even as like the world started moving on from the pandemic. It was still something that I feel really passionate about doing and making. It scratches that like special itch in the back of my head that like screenwriting, like film, TV, improv, poetry, spoken word, like all these things are kind of scratching it, but APs like really scratch it. There's like something really special, I think, about this medium in particular and the vehicle of like radical imagination that is so direct and immediate and removed from, but also engaged in layers of abstraction that I can't really find in other, I think, methodologies of play and creation.
So this is the sweet spot.
This is like this is like the perfect sweet spot, right? Between like improv, collaboration, like a little bit of, like some like prep, but like not that much prep. Like it's like turning all the dials and then I press go and out pops an AP, right?
Tina, how did you get started?
Well, I really connect with what Connie was saying actually, because my journey was pretty similar. I started playing TTRPGs when I was living. I lived in a very small town in Argentina, in La Patagonia, which is well, Argentina is a big country. It's at the south of it's very cold, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And there's nothing, there's no good internet connection at the time. At least there weren't ways to get the supplements or the things I needed to TTRPG, so I created my own because aside from being from a small town in Argentina and from being trans, I always struggled with OCD, so everything came into role-playing as different persons and making my own system for a game that I could run, and I made that own system and started DMing my friends. Then I came here to live in Buenos Aires to study filmmaking, and I've already started studying improv. I started working as a screenwriter, and all of these things came together, just as Connie was saying. And it just came naturally, I think. I met Oki in college, I think about, I don't know if I want to know, like 9 years ago or 8 years ago, something like that.
9 sounds about right.
Yeah. So we became best friends, and we started playing D&D, and in the pandemic as well, we started to kick off ideas, and it was always like in the back of our mind, but that moment was really like, I think we can make this here. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing on this format, at least, of actual play here in Argentina in Spanish. I think we can make it. And so we started producing, we started making, but we wanted to do it really well produced, which is a very difficult thing to do here. So it took about 3 years, I think, until we pull it off. And I started editing for like 2 years. I spent editing, and that kicked off. As well as I would say in the last year, it's been really, really tough here in Argentina because of a really hard right-wing government we have. And so it became this like a form of struggle, of fight, if you will, for LGBTQ people, art, expression, and now it's just growing as it goes. Like we make a really good connection with other people in the TTRPG community here, and we started making all these projects. We got to know Queens Got Games through that, and got the Crown Grant, and all these amazing, amazing things started happening. And I really believe it's because it's a project that is filled with so much love. And I think that's like the biggest value of it is that it's super genuine in that sense.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, how did you get started?
Yeah, in terms of how I got started with TTRPG, it was as Tina said, the first thing I played was the system that she invented, which looking back on it was really funny how much effort it put on the DM, which of course was Tina. Like we didn't even roll dice. We were just like, oh yeah, I run over there, and she took care of everything. And then
I
with
like
actual
having
play,
control of things.
who would have thought? And then in terms of how we started with actual play, I think the only other thing that's worth mentioning is that we really once we started playing, we really like fell in love with the stories we were telling ourselves, and how much fun we were having. And even if role-playing stories, the beautiful thing about them is like the ephemeralness, I don't know if that's a word, of it. We wanted to also, like we studied filmmaking, we wanted to tell stories, and we were also in terms of our own college and we didn't really like the philosophy of storytelling that our university tended to employ. It was snobs. So we wanted to do our own thing that was fun, and it was ours, and I think it really that really worked. Seeing now the community that's been built around it, and the space that's been created. Yeah.
I think what I'm coming across with a lot of the TTRPG, which I find we used to just call it role playing. So when I came into the world of actual play, I had no idea what that was. But what I've noticed is people are here because they want to tell their own stories, or they want to tell the stories that they want to hear that they feel haven't been captured before. Would that be one of the motivations?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
1000%.
We are all nodding. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
Definitely all resonating
round
with
yes.
that.
Yeah.
I think especially as actual play creators, this through line of narrative and story and character, I think is what draws a lot of us to this particular craft. I'm also a game designer, and I'm in conversation with TTRPG designers who resist the idea of TTRPGs as a story vehicle, and more so just as like a ludic or game-based exercise for just exploration. And I think there are like many different approaches to playing TTRPGs, but for me, what I resonate most strongly to and I'm drawn to is the storytelling aspect of it. I think a lot of like my colleagues here would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So in the current campaigns or games or stories, what's been the best moment?
Mm.
Like within the story or just like
Within the story, or even within the recording?
Sorry, Kara, go ahead.
Oh no, please.
No, please.
Now we're aggressively polite. Also, I apologize. They
Yeah.
keep opening the door to this room, and I'm like, you're not supposed to be pointing this way. We had there was a moment when we first started recording Mekong where we were talking about something very stupid, and I genuinely think it was Jollibee. Like it's a brand of like Filipino fried chicken. And we had this long conversation about like our childhood foods growing up and also this fast food. And we realized there was at no point we had to look at somebody else and be like, oh, so lumpia is like we didn't have to explain what we were up to.
Yeah.
We just had a shared language of like a shared language from our like shared heritage, which was the moment I was like, oh no, we're doing something right. Like
Yep.
this was what we needed. But every time I get to do one of these, it's amazing.
It's the best moment.
Like anytime we get to perform.
Okay, what's been the best moment for you?
Like I was thinking about you asked before the funny moments or and I think that I was having trouble thinking of just one but I was thinking along the lines of we have a friend called Bruno who plays with us in the Sprout of Fire and was in other things as well in the live event that we did, and he is so talented at creating like the most comedic moments that exist ever. He never does it on purpose, but yeah, he's and yeah, playing with him and like it's always super fun. So yeah, having those things being recorded. I remember when we were first shooting, I wasn't sure what we were doing, right? Because I don't know, this is weird. Is anyone gonna watch this? Is it gonna be worthwhile? And I remember Bruno made me laugh so hard at one point, and I was like, okay, it's worth it now. Even if no one watches this, and even if people watch it and hate it, I'm like, this was worth it just to have this recorded, like this moment with Bruno. If anyone's watching that saw the series, I'm talking about the one of the last episodes where he says "¿Qué hago?", which means what do I do after he pitched his own plan. And then
It was
started
like
asking
10
for
minutes pitching a plan, like, okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, action. ¿Qué hago?
What do I do? And he's like blank stare. Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, I think I have like a similar favorite moment in that sense that we really started doing this because we wanted to do an actual play. We are very nervous. We've all been accustomed to being on camera, but this was like a first in terms of playing TTRPG and being in front of the camera. And about the fourth episode that we filmed, and one of the last episodes, I realized that all of us in a moment had forgotten there were cameras around, and we were being ourselves, and we were all shouting at each other, but laughing really loudly, just couldn't control ourselves, and it was magic. And I really remember saying like, okay, this is amazing. I'm having fun with my friends, and it's being recorded, and I can show it later, which is like taking out that part of intimate storytelling that TTRPGs have and putting it on camera. It was amazing. And yeah, Bruno is amazing. Everyone in the cast is amazing. But really, up until the end, we were a bit nervous, I think, but we really kicked off like at the last episodes, which are chaotic. And I think we can really tell there's something about Spanish that comes more naturally, in the sense that it's really chaotic, and Argentinians are very Italian, and gritamos. It's we shout at each other for no reason, and it's really funny. I think that was, and this project was supposed to be really Argentinian, and I think we nailed that in the last episodes. So that's my favorite moment.
And Connie?
I'm really resonating with what, everyone has laid down about like cast chemistry, about like getting to shepherd our own stories on our own terms and not having to explain or contextualize where we're from. For me, this is a broader thing of just across APs, but specifically with like a lot of the shows I've done on Transplanar, is finding cast and finding intention for everyone to kind of buy into the themes and buy into the story and go like, okay, we're all going there. We're all really excited to show up for this particular kind of story, and we're all like 100% like in deep, we're going there, right? Which can be, this was a lesson I kind of learned by like Trial by Fire. Maybe this also kind of speaks for like some of my least favorite parts of this journey so far, but I have learned, I think, through Trial by Fire, that not every table is ready to receive every part of me, right? Whether as a game master or as a player, right? And I've shown up at tables before where I'm like fully myself, I give myself my whole heart, my performance into it. And it's really clear that it's not reading, like either for the audience, or for like the other players or for the GM at the table. Like they were showing up for one thing and I was showing up for something else, right? Which isn't like necessarily bad. Like no one did anything wrong. It's just different, right? Different expectations and the chemistry isn't there, right? But what I'm really grateful for at Transplanar is that we're all on the same page and we're all aligned, like about the themes of the show, about what we want our characters to do, about the tone, the genre, yes, everything. Like when I say, hey, I really want, I'm really excited for this session for all of y'all to like fight with each other in character and to like fuck shit up, right? To like my players will give me knives and be like, stab me in the back with these, Connie, as an act of love. And I will do it, right? So I love it when players fully are willing to go like full throat, teeth bared into exploring flawed characters, monstrosity, complicated, messy situations. And we all feel completely safe with each other about exploring these things. And we feel really brave and empowered to take these creative risks. Like that's why I sign up to do APs. This is why I GM in the first place, right? I feel like I've sometimes garnered a bit of a reputation with my players and the people who shared a table with me and are familiar with my work for being like an evil GM, because I love being evil, right? I love pulling evil emotional twists, like, oh, this monster you're fighting, is gonna, like, this shape-changing monster you're fighting is gonna take on the face of your dead sister and is gonna taunt you in her voice, right? Doing stuff like that and having a table that's ready to go there and will like act in response and go like, how dare you? And like come at the monster, like take it, at face value, right? Pun intended. So that's why I do this, and that's why I love this, is to be evil and be evil back at each other.
And sorry, I have a question for Connie. And did it come as a surprise for you that this dynamic was so fluid and so great, or did you have it planned before shooting?
That's actually a really excellent question. I think a lot of that was like gained through experience and practice of, first of all, our casting process, we don't do like an open casting. Everyone on our cast we invited in because we've already shared tables with them. We're like familiar with their body of work. We've gotten the chance to be familiar and know them on a person level. And then we like invited them in because we knew that it would work, basically. And like we did like a few tests, not streamed, not recorded, completely offline, just for us, like a few test sessions to like feel out the chemistry, you know? And like everyone signing on, we're quite notorious for having like 10 session zeros, right? So it's like a session 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 before we actually go live, where we talk about all of this. We're like, hey, how hard do we want to go? How do we feel about XYZ? Safety discussions, of course, but also like, let's make sure we're all on the same page about theme and our goals as actors and as performers. Like, how hard in the paint do we want to go, right? And I think because of that, we had a lot of preparation with the cast before even like pressing go live for episode 1 of Chaos. And a lot of that was like lessons I learned, you know, because I've been doing this for 4 years at this point, like lessons I've learned with like previous shows that I've produced and other channels that I've guested on or have been a guest player or GM on.
How long did that process actually take?
You mean like the onboarding process from like cast to when we go live?
For this one, yeah.
For Chaos in particular, it was quite extended because we knew we wanted Chaos to span 8 arcs at least, which was about like 2.5 to 3 years. So we knew that the cast had to be ready and able to do this, like basically every Saturday for 3 years, which is a big ask for someone. So we wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of this and enthusiastic about it. So the onboarding process from conception of the idea to when we actually first like hit go live was probably a year and a half, if I'm being honest. And from the casting process to when we went live, probably around 6 months.
Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I mean, obviously the synchronicity of the cast is a massive sort of energy that it brings to the story. These are great answers. What's the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome? And everyone's like, oh.
No,
go for it.
Every time scheduling.
Yep.
Impossible. Nigh impossible. Mekong had, because we had specific casting requirements, we had 2 players who were specifically like hosts and did a lot of anime conventions and things. So we couldn't do an ask like every Saturday. We had to just when is good every single episode. And we tried block shooting and doing 2 episodes at once, which didn't work. Because it turned out we were just exhausted. So if anyone has ever figured out how to make it work, like, tell me your secrets.
Biggest hurdle, Oki?
I think for us, in terms of like the actual shooting of the show, one of our biggest hurdles was similar to what Clara was saying, about not scheduling with the people and like them being able to come or not, but having how do you say rodaje in English, Tina?
Shooting.
The shooting of the thing, organizing that. We ended up doing shooting Saturdays or Sundays. Once every 2 weeks. So we would do one Sunday, Sunday we don't film, and we did that 4 times for the first season of the show. Because we had to balance like Tina, our DM, being prepared, also like everyone needs to be available as well, like and we had to think about that way ahead of it, just to have everything organized, because we wanted, as Tina was saying before, like we wanted it to look good. So we had to organize where the lights, the background, the whatever. But yeah, that was, I think, the hardest thing. Luckily, we didn't have as many problems than in the shooting, so which is, I don't know, at least in the shootings I've been to, is unheard of. So if something goes wrong, that's never gone wrong before.
Yeah,
Actually-
I'd say, sorry.
I had a follow-up question, but please.
No, please.
Also, someone might open my door in a second. Sorry. Did you guys, because Riddle is in a studio, did you find that that was particularly extra challenging because you were dealing with all of the things that come with like live studio production?
You can take it, Tina, if you want, but the thing
This
is
is our
that
this is Latin America. We don't have studios. It's just
no,
curtains
we
on our
did
living
it.
room.
No, the difficult thing was not the studio environment, but
Yeah.
making my house look like a studio. So moving couches and tables and whatever,
We
and
are
then
crafty sons of bitches.
I truly had no idea it was just someone's home.
It's
yeah, makes me feel so good because it means it worked. And
yeah,
also,
no.
props to our producer and art director Victoria Collado, which was an angel and figured everything out. And this project would be so far from existing without her.
Absolutely.
Atina, the hurdles, what did you find as the hurdles?
No, I agree with Oki, but I would say also like for the last year we've been streaming as well, and I'd say there are different difficulties for those. I think shooting in particular is really hard on those days that you have to shoot. It's not the same as streaming. Streaming, everything can go wrong, right? Like it's live, but shooting has different problems. And also one of the hurdles I would say is editing. I edited the whole thing. I'm a professional video editor here as well, and so I edited the whole thing, and it was really a long process and very hard because I'm a very perfectionist person. So every time I watched it, I was like, okay, no, this is not perfect. It has to be perfect, and so I re-edited the whole thing. So I would say that was pretty hard. And afterwards, all of the things that came after premiering the series, because many people came with new projects, and we don't know how to say no sometimes. So many of the things that came along were like, yeah, we want to do everything. We made this so that we would participate in all of this project and all of these things. We want to know everyone in the JRPG community. We want to be there. And at some point, Oki and I hit a low point. Like I remember being on a call with him, and we said some bitchy things at each other, and we fell silent, and we were like, okay, we need to take less things into,
We
and
need to rest.
we can't do it all. We need to rest. This is a job now, not just a game for us.
Yeah.
So I think that was the hardest part, figuring out that remember this is for fun, and that because we do it because we love it. That was a really hard point for me as well.
And Connie?
Yeah, resonate with what all of you are saying, like heavy on the burnout. That's definitely the hardest part. I think for me the hardest part, just +1 to what everyone said, is like everything around the story. Like the fun part is the fun part. I can show up and GM for my friends all day. You know, like I can show up and do it, like I love doing this. But it's the marketing, it's the editing, it's the producing, the marketing! Ah, my biggest enemy, right? The scheduling, like the meetings, the emails, the sponsorship reach outs, like the applying to webfests and stuff, like all these things is like, right? It's like an additional load on top of the fun stuff we actually really want to do. But all the fun stuff to make possible and to make rewarding needs to be supported by all these other pillars of production, which for I think a lot of AP creators, if we aren't backed by like a big studio, like ends up falling on 1 or 2 people who take on like the lion's share of the work, right? So that's definitely the hardest part for me.
Alrighty, so if you come across someone who is kind of thinking, they're listening and they're watching and they're thinking, oh, I might like to do this myself, what is the one piece of advice that you would like to give them that you never got yourself? So it could be something that you've learned. It could be something that somebody told you that you wish you'd known before. It could be any of those. I mean, mine would probably be just do it. Don't wait till you're ready. Just do it.
I have a very controversial take on this. and I feel bad.
I'd
My
love
ears
to
are
hear
open.
that.
I'm listening.
Yes, controversy, bring it on.
Okay, sorry, I just got. Anyway, my very controversial take is when someone comes to me. Whatever, I can fix it later. When someone comes to me and is like, I have an actual play I want to do, and Queen's Court specifically, we're taking those pitches right now, actually. When people come to me, the first question I ask them is, why your story?
Mhm.
What do you have to say that is that is important, or what do you have to say that's entertaining or interesting? Why do we make your story versus anyone else's? Because a lot of time when I have friends, especially who reach out and they're like, I want to make an actual play. I think my friends and I are pretty funny. My response is don't. Like it's a lot of work for a passion project.
Mm,
And like I work in indie film, and so my day job is also passion projects.
yeah.
So putting a job on a job is a ton of work as a producer. You wear a bunch of hats. And in the end, you either have to be comfortable with the work that you put out and you just love it. You just have to love it.
hmm
Or you're going to be really disappointed when you don't become the next Critical Role, right? So you just have to love it. But also, you have to kind of ask yourself, why does it need to be made?
Yeah.
And if the answer is because I think it'll be fun, go for it. But you have to answer why,
Yes.
or else plenty of people need help editing or writing or doing other parts of production. So if you're just interested in that side of it, go ahead.
Because I mean, I'm audio fiction and I am short fiction. So I am, I'm a copywriter by trade, a radio commercial writer by trade. So short was always comfortable for me. But when I started, nobody knew anything. Nobody could tell me anything. And somebody just said, well, if you want to do it, why don't you just do it? So I just did it. And I learned along the way. So when somebody comes to me and they say, oh, I'd like to do it, it's just like, do it. If it's in your heart, if it's, something that you want to tell, if it's something you want to share, don't do, don't spend so much money doing all the courses and doing all the things. I think you learn a lot by doing it yourself, by putting yourself into that place, by experimenting with the stories, or the crew or the cast, and finding where that sort of pivotal moment is where it just goes, yes, this is it. We're allowed to make mistakes on the way. What about you, Tina? What would you say to someone who's on the cusp?
I absolutely agree with you guys, Jack and Clara, with everything you said. Just for variety's sake, I would say just put a woman up in there in the cast. Just know if your cast is all white dudes, then don't why. Just there's your why. You don't have a why.
Yeah.
There's
Their
plenty.
diversity is like the one white dude without a beard. It's like the rest of them
Yeah.
have beards, but the one
Yeah.
white guy with beard is the two.
No,
That's
if
diversity.
this show is not how they lost their beard, then you're not telling any news story at all. They've had the floor for about too long now. I think it's time for new voices. So I would say that.
Honey?
I mean, I completely agree with what everyone has said. Like, yes to the diversity. Like, yes to why you, why the story, why now, and just why in general. I think I'll protect you if people have been saying it's a controversial take, because I completely agree with you. It's good to be intentional with your work. Right?
Controversial at all.
Okay, let me be clear. My controversial take is don't. My second take is have a reason. Because it also comes with the level of like the jaded film person, like, don't. So that's the controversy.
Like
I feel you though.
exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work. I have two thoughts for someone who wants to do this. One is that realize it is a gargantuan amount of work for a very little financial return, if any. Like even at the top level, like CR's making money from merch. That's where their money comes from, right? Like you have to kind of understand, I think on a high level, where what the flow of the money is, right? And if that is less of a concern to you, if you just kind of want to make something and put it out in the world, like what Clara said, Clara said, like 100%, like do it. Like that's completely worth it.
We see, I can't ever envisage doing it for the money. That never occurred to me. Ever.
No one gets.
You know what, Jack?
Don't do it.
I got into this to become a millionaire, y'all. Like I got into this to make so much money. My other piece of advice would be to absorb lessons and tactics, but not dogmas. Because on your path, you're going to meet a lot of people telling you a lot of things about how your show should be run and how they think you should do your thing. So like take your lessons from them. What have they done with their project that you think is really successful? And what have they done with their project that you think you wouldn't do or could be improved upon, right? Like critical thinking is really important here. Being able to analyze your peers, right? People above you, yes, but also your peers is really important, I think, in making the work you want to do. That also kind of goes hand in hand, I think, with network horizontally as much as you want to network like vertically, right? So a lot of people are always thinking like, I want to go up. I want to network up. I want to network up. I want to talk to like the people who are CR, Darrington, Dropout, whatever. But also like the people who are making the work with you are going to be the next generation of that, right? So you want to like make your connections here. Like that's also very important. Yeah, these are just like very, very personal lessons that I've absorbed that I wish someone told Connie 4 years ago.
Aki, what about you?
I would tell the person to make sure to put a cisgender white guy. No, I'm kidding.
I know
No, I'd say I don't have much more to add. Just like other than like what are you telling? What's the purpose of your story? Why are you telling it? Also on a personal level, like what's it to you? Like why do you want to do, like what's fun about it to you? And once you know that, like how do you approach that? Like from what angle are you coming at it from?
Guys, we're almost out of time. And I want to thank you so much for your expertise of bringing your flavor to the panel, because I mean, as someone who moderates panel, and I don't often do it, I don't often actually ever see people. I mean, a lot of my work is done in the cupboard. I know that sounds weird, but that's my little voice booth. So you have made this job an absolute dream. You're all amazing and incredible storytellers, and the advice that you've given is just gorgeous. Thank you so much for participating. Fingers, toes, and elbows crossed. The New Zealand Web Fest sort of gala podcast performance is next week. I hope to see you there. If not, I understand we all have to work. But I want to thank you so much for your time. What an absolute pleasure meeting you all.
No, thank you. And yeah, well, an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for
so
having
much.
Thank you for moderating, Jack.